Five Nights at Freddy's, an indie horror game that's taken the internet by storm. It's a simple game. You look left, right, check your lights, close the doors when an animatronic is right there, take a look at Pirate Cove, and don't run out of power. Sounds simple, right? Well, the developers figured out how to make it a bit more difficult than it seems. And after seeing the Let's Plays from Markiplier, Yami Mash, and Jacksepticeye, and hearing the announcement that they are making a Five Nights at Freddy's 2, I started to think of ideas for the sequel, how to make it last longer, and how to have a bigger impact than the first game did. These are my top 10 ideas for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Achievements. I'm not entirely sure if the first game did have achievements, so if it did, I sincerely apologize for this waste of an entry. But I really think Five Nights at Freddy's could really use achievements. Achievements are ways to make you go back and replay the game or do certain things you will never do. All you do in Five Nights at Freddy's is just play the 5 nights, the secret night, and maybe a custom night. The game doesn't really last that much longer after that. You can learn the ins and outs very quickly. So I think achievements will make things a bit more interesting, let's say. You could beat the game normally or go back and get yourself like so close from being caught by Freddy, but closing the door at the last second, something like that. I'm not an achievement kind of person, but I really think that can make the game last longer. More voices. The animatronics have full capability of speak, so why not in the distance down the hallway they say things like, come play with us, or something like that. Each could have their own distinct voices, like Chica is apparently a girl, so why not have her spooky feminine voice? I don't know. Foxy's apparently a pirate, so I have a dead pirate. I don't know. Do what you want. Make it sound goofy and childish, but so much that it's kind of creepy in the dark. Walking down the middle of the hallway and you hear something go, hi guys! More nights. I know it's Five Nights at Freddy's, but since it's Five Nights at Freddy's 2, how about times it by 2?
I do maths.
I feel like more nights with more goals would make the game last longer, of course with the main story. And, you know, who knows, maybe you'd find something different with each night. I mean, no night, not a single night is different, so of course there'd be more challenges to follow. This is not really something that has something to do with the games, but more of a film adaptation. It feels like common sense that someone would go ahead and make a movie based on Five Nights at Freddy's because of how popular it is. I mean, all we're getting in these, like almost the past decade of horror films is demons, spirits, possession. And the only thing that's really different that we got is As Above, So Below that had something to do with a haunted area, and The Purge, which, yes, is technically a horror film. That's why these films got so popular and are technically so beloved, because they try something different. They don't go for the safe way, like demons and possession and all this stuff. In Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm not sure if the animatronics are possessed or some shit, but I feel like it'd be a bit more unique than just a stereotypical found footage genre that we always see every year. And as someone that's a fan of the horror genre, I am getting a little frightened for the fate of it. Multiple maps. I know we have the one map and it's already difficult to beat the game with that, but what if we had different maps of different Freddy Fazbear's Pizzas, I believe they're called. Maybe it's national, maybe the company is actually worldwide, like you have to be a janitor or a security guard at a Tokyo version, or a Russian version, or one in Hawaii, or something like that. Each map will not be the same, but they'd have the same characters. It'd just be a different way of going about it. A lot of games have different maps, and you know, usually with each map, you can figure out the pattern right off the bat, unless there are more maps. Because if you go back to an older map, unless it's the very first one, because everybody would know the pattern of that one, you would possibly forget that one because you were busy with other maps. You would forget the pattern or the strategy you went with, and by the time you remember it, it's probably too late. Oculus Rift. In case you didn't know, the Oculus Rift is a video game peripheral that's used for virtual reality. So how would it work with a game like this? Well, all you have to do is turn your head left and right, and probably point it down to turn off lights and close the door. I mean, I've heard that many of the worst horror games are actually scary with the Oculus Rift. I don't know why, I've never tried it myself. I've never had an Oculus Rift. I really want one myself, but I think the Oculus Rift will make Five Nights at Freddy's that much more scary. And I heard it's already scary enough. I never played it because my computer is incapable of playing those kinds of games. It lags during sprite games. It's just a laptop. Just leave me alone! Speaking of which... a console release. Yeah, I know many of your PC gamers are probably like, oh, we're master race. No people deserve our games. And I'm not trying to categorize people, but I hear many things about how PC can hack and frames per second, resolution. You know, a video game is not about frames per second or resolution. You know that, right? My point is, why not have more people experience the game? And why not have, like, Five Nights at Freddy's be more open with not just PC, but other consoles as well? It might be a little complicated, but here's an idea. Use the analog stick to control which way you look, and have the trigger buttons control the doors. But you can only close the doors when you're looking at them. You can't just close them when you're looking to the right. Because it'd be a lot easier to do so, because to open and close doors in Five Nights at Freddy's, you have to click the button, and to do that, you have to look at the door. For consoles, you would have to just press a button, it would just close, even though you're looking to the right. I don't want that. I still want the restriction that you have to be looking at the door to actually be able to close it. So, making a console release might be a bit more complicated, but I think the PS4 and Xbox One will be good starts. Maybe a Wii U version. I'm not sure if Nintendo would react to that very well, but I think it may be a decent idea. Usually when there's a sequel to just about anything, there's a new character introduced. The DLC for Outlast, there were those two characters that hunted you down, like that bridesman and that crazy old fuck. For Slender, it was Slender the Arrivals, Kate, who was turned into a proxy. And so why not a new animatronic in this character? Ah, but here's the catch. For every animatronic, you have to keep your eyes on them. From Freddy to Foxy, you gotta keep your eyes on them. So why not for this one? It's a character you absolutely cannot look at, but he'll do his damnedest to keep getting in front of the camera or different cameras just so you can look at him. And the more you look at him, the more of a chance he'll just run in charge right at the door. I don't know what kind of animal you'd make him, or I don't know if he'd appear on only certain maps if you do the multiple maps idea, but I feel like a fifth animatronic would make things more fun and innovative. More story and explanations. I feel like we need more of an explanation of what exactly the Bite of 87 was, or why these animatronics are trying to kill you. How did they turn up alive? Like, was it just a freak experiment by the government, or was it... I don't fucking know. This is why we need an experiment. I kind of feel like we need a bit of an explanation, at least on what the Bite of 87 was. Many people gave their own fan theories. I never really read up into them, but I've heard many of them are interesting. Versus Mode. A Gmod horror game called Stop It Slender allowed you to play as the Slender Man and chase after your friends. Why not have a similar mode where you play as at least one of the animatronics, and each have their own battery life, and they'll go down kind of fast. You have to go out, and the farther you go out into the map, or closer to the security guard, I should say, the more your power will go down. And eventually, once your power is out, you'll have to go back to the beginning of the map and recharge, and then continuously go back to the door and try to get the security guard. Maybe that's just an idea of how versus mode will work, but I really think multiplayer, or at least a competitive game on multiplayer, would really make the game more fun and entertaining, and it'll definitely make it last longer and keep making people go back to it. I hope you enjoyed this list. Make sure to like, maybe favorite, comment down your ideas of what you'd like to see in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and subscribe if you want to see some more. I make videos almost every day. And remember, we all see fishing and sealing at least once in our lives.
Don't you think others deserve to know the true meaning of fear? Well, now that you're here, I can make you my pawn of nightmares.